Who would like to start us off? Yes, sir. Well, yeah, and if we could wait for the microphone, that way we'll be able to get some voice into the camera. Yes, sir.
Derek, the first day you had one crankbait and you only had one in that color. Did you keep using that crankbait all 3 days?
Yeah, I ended up never losing that crankbait and caught all my fish way down, just about every one of my fishing this week on that one crankbait.
Can you identify the brand for us there?
I was a Lucky Crab, the RC 1.5.
Okay. Very good.
You know, I can't remember what the color is, but it's a brim color. I couldn't tell you. I'd be lying if I told you what the color was. So.
All right, very good. Next question. Yes, sir, right back in the back.
Can either one of you guys comment on the weather? You guys have spoken on stage about how the weather was a real difference maker in this year's event.
Why don't we start with Derek and then
Okay.
see what Aaron says.
Well, the biggest difference, you know, the time of year, I mean, this is the time of year where everything's changing, and out here with the shallow water, I mean, it just makes it that much faster. So when we started practice, the water was 42, 43 degrees, and by the end of the day, I don't remember looking at it anymore, but what was it, 68 almost?
High 60s.
Yeah, high 60s. So, I mean, you're looking at over a 20-degree difference in less than a week, and that's just, you know, that's a kick for them, you know, that just gets them going. And where we were all fishing was where they were wanting to be to spawn, so that it was just one of those areas that happened fast. So it was the right area to be. So I guess.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, so he's also curious about the fog, how that affected the tournament. Aaron, if you want to take on that one.
The fog. You know, the first couple days there was a lot of boats in there, and it was like we were all talking about, it was a grind. I mean, it was just, you know, you didn't get a lot of bites. You got one here, you got one 40 minutes later. It was definitely a lot of work, and you had to be fishing the right stuff. So we took a lot more time to catch our fish. You know, 15 fish a day when those guys are catching 15 fish in an hour down south. So today it was, you know, with the delay, I don't think it would have hurt us, because I mean, we caught them pretty much later in the day anyways. But this place, we hit it probably the best week we could have hit it throughout the whole season. I mean, if we had hit it maybe 2 days later, it would have been a little better, but I think we hit it, you know, the severe cold fronts that came through the week before this tournament, during our practice and before, was unusual. You know, the average highs were 67, lows were like 52 or something, I think. That's average for this area, and we're getting freezing and frost, ice on the banks. So those fish wanted to spawn then, and it held them back. And when that happens, for me in the past, when that happens, when it does warm up like it did, I mean, it went above average. It makes for tremendous fishing, and we hit it like we do a lot of times in bass. Somehow we hit it this special week of the year. Especially today was probably one of the best days of the year to be fishing on the Delta.
Very good. Yes, sir.
This question is for both of you. How would you say it was to have to fish in such close proximity to literally the top 3 or 4 or 5 anglers in the tournament, all tournament long? How did that work for you? Was that added pressure, or just what are the advantages and disadvantages of having everybody right there?
You liked it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, as far as I know, none of us had a problem with anything, right?
No, it's cool. It's fun.
But,
it's fun watching Kevin catch them like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, that was a little sickening, actually. But, no, I mean, for me personally, you know, you're watching all these guys, they're catching a 4-pounder here, 6-pounder here, and you might not have bite for 20 or 30 minutes. Yeah. You just have to kind of block that out of your mind and just keep focused on the task at hand. And we all knew we were all on the right area, and it was a small area relative to the size of the lake, but it was big enough for 3 or 4 of us could, you know, we just kept meandering through, and like I said, just basically keep track of what you're doing, and you will get a bite eventually. So,
Aaron, any other thoughts to that?
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I've been in those situations a few times. It was not in the classic. I don't think. It was no problem. I mean, I don't think any of us had any problems at all. I mean, we're totally friendly with each other, joking. You know, it was actually made for a fun tournament. I wish I could have been a little closer, you know, yesterday, but I'm sure Derek does too. Yet the first day, but you know, it's just, you know, Van Dam in this situation on a place he loves as much as he loves this place is not going to slip, and you know, once you slip once, he's
leave you in the
you know, fishing against a guy is he's impressive. He's better than, it seems to be quite a bit better than most of us. He just gets the edge on you a lot of times. He's tough to fish against. It's almost like we wish he wasn't here, but I like him too much. He'd be a lot better. I think we'd all do a lot better if he wasn't around.
So Mr. Martens officially wants to get rid of Kevin Van Dam. Let it be noted.
I second that.
All right, next question. Right here, Sammy Lee.
I would have won 2 classics right now if Kevin wasn't around.
Hey, Derek, this is actually for you, but I want to get a spillover answer from Aaron. When I watched the video replay of you hooking and landing that big fish today back in the press room, and it appeared that when you first took the fish, you didn't realize how large he was, but when he came up, from the vocal expression you made, you seemed to realize exactly how big the fish was. Did that shock you that size fish was in that area? And then, that apparently must have hit very lightly because you didn't seem to overreact. And then, after you answer, Aaron, how did it feel to watch him catch an 8-pounder in front of you?
Well, yeah, that was kind of a heat of the moment thing, you know. It was, I really didn't know what was going on other than I had a big fish on. And the fish actually ate it so good that, you know, that's kind of how those big fish eat it when they engulf your bait so good. I mean, he had it down in his crushers almost, and it felt just like I hit a big ball of grass. And then, you know, I leaned into it a little bit and felt it start moving. I thought, oh boy, I think this is a big one. And it came up and wallered out of the water, and you know, from there on, I mean, I can't say what I said, but it was just a heated moment, like I could say. So, okay, okay.
And the second question, I didn't see Derek catch those. Somebody told me though he had an 8 and a 5. I was like, that was early. I was like, wow. But you know, all these fish I think we caught today. I mean, the first day they were knocking the rod out of your hand. Yesterday I had 25 bites and caught 5. Only landed 5 fish yesterday. I know I had probably a good 20-pound bag at least on yesterday. Today, I think for most of us, I even watched Van Dam. He was right next to me. I'd watch him hook them, and all the fish that I had, and I'd say like 80-90% of them, you didn't feel them. I mean, you drag over a stump, and all of a sudden, I mean, you snag so much too. You're always hooking a stump, and you see guys. I mean, we've been around. We're fishing the professional circuit, and you know when you're hooking. I mean, I started hooking stumps because I mean, you could not tell when a fish had it. I mean, it's like soggy, and I mean, most of them, you just kind of pull on them, and they'd be there, and then you set the hook on them. They're just, you know, coming up behind it, just probably just grabbing it real soft. They're almost all of them are like that, right?
Yeah, any bite I had that was 4 pounds or better was like that. I really didn't know if I had a fish until I leaned into it. So, and I set the hook on a lot of stumps today as well too. So,
all right, now the next question. Okay, right here. I'm sorry. Let's go. We're going to go here first, and then we'll come back over here to the left.
Ron at Bassmaster.com. Aaron had the big fish on Friday. It was a 5.9, which is certainly a good fish that anyone would have welcomed in this tournament. But today there were probably a dozen fish bigger than that weighed in that one small area. Did either of you have any inkling that there were that many 6-pound plus fish? And if so, did you expect them to show up today?
Aaron, why don't you tackle that one first?
Yeah, they were. In practice I think there were some big fish in there. I think there was a lot more males in there. You know, the warm weather, and I'd like to like drained all the water out and seen like what was in there and what was in there today. But I think today they're just coming in. I mean, today was the kind of day they move. You know, they're a lot of them may have been out. The water came up probably how far? I mean, 10 inches last night from the wind, maybe more. I don't know. It came up quite a bit, and I just think those fish were just coming in. Because we were catching a lot of the big ones. A lot of the big fish were caught on the outside kind of edge of where I think they were spawning probably inside of us a little bit. A lot of them were on the outside edge wherever you could find most of the spots. I caught fish off Derek's tree, and I'm sure he caught fish off mine. We had certain stumps out there that, like in the tournament, the first 2 days you could get a bite once every couple hours. Today, literally, you could get a bite and then leave it, and a half hour later, somebody else comes there and gets a bite. And, I mean, if you could, you just do a circle and have 3 or 4 spots, is what Kevin did, and that's what I did a lot. And just rotate them. But every time you went back to that tree, and if you hit that tree, you got bit. I mean, almost every time it was a big one. So I had a feeling those fish were probably coming up and basically staging. They're just staging up, getting ready to come in, find a male to spawn with.
Very good. All right, we had a question right here.
Do you guys have any other area for backup in your mind?
And the question, do you have any backup areas?
I really didn't. It's kind of the gamble you take fishing a place that's this wide open. I mean, you have to put all your eggs in one basket because everything is 2 hours away from this spot to this spot. So I'm pretty sure Aaron feels the same way I did. You know, felt the best chances to do good or win would be in that area, because just looking on a map, it just stands out as that's where I need to fish in February when the water's warming. So, and it's exactly like Aaron said before, we were catching all the fish that were staging before they were going into spawn. Everyone you caught was fat and full of eggs and looked like they were ready to burst. So it's just kind of one of those areas, you know, I guess you learn over time what kind of to look for, and just felt where if I was going to catch him, it was probably going to be in there.
If we would have had a cold front, like a bad cold front, it wouldn't have been. We wouldn't have done good. We would have been done. Venice would have destroyed us. We would have had hard time making a 25 cut. It just wouldn't have been. It's too vast of an area. There's too many places for them. They would have buried up in the grass. You know, you think a trap would work, but it gets too cold. It's just flat. It gets cold, and they're hard to catch when it's cold. Like in practice, that place was impossible. Like the first 2 days of practice, and the Wednesday half day was complete opposite. It was unbelievable. But a cold front would have ruined it for all of us. Kevin, Derek, all of us that were in there.
Very good. Next question. We got right here, Alan Clemens.
Aaron, you've made some joking references about being second, being bridesmaid to Kevin a couple of times. You seem not at ease, but a little bit more comfortable, I guess. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, this is the easiest second place I've ever had. Honestly, I'm not just saying that. If it would have been closer, it would have been a little different. But since he won by, I think, 10 some or 11 pounds, it was obvious after yesterday, and I knew today was probably going to get it. So yeah, this is the easiest one I've ever had in any tournament. There's no stress, no remorse. I'm actually very, very happy I got second.
Very good. All right, another question. Yes, sir, in the back.
If someone told you that this area 10 years ago when Van Dam won his first Classic here, it was brackish water, getting ready to turn into a saltwater area, and then you see today's effects of diversions and the other things that have gone on in this area, what would you think, and how do you react to that, to know that this is a sort of a brand new fishery?
I suppose, I mean, really, from what I hear about that lake is that it is pretty much a new fishery because of, I guess, a freshwater diversion that runs through it. And but it all, if you look at all the pieces, it all adds up to be a phenomenal fishery because it's flat, stumps, full of grass, and if you have fresh water pumping through there, the growing season is so long and they have so much food to eat, it just doesn't take long to grow fish that big. And that many of them. I mean, they can reproduce so fast, and they have plenty of cover to get in when they're young, and it's just it probably one of the best places as far as fish factories that you could get to, I think.
Yeah, I actually caught my first redfish in that lake. I fished it last Classic right here. I spent the first day in there, and I caught fish, but they were, it was summertime. I think it was August, summer Classic, and they were. You could tell they weren't healthy fish. They were kind of skinny. Real lean fish. It's not like they are now. I mean, that diversion canal made huge difference. I mean, that's nutrient Mississippi water coming in there. It's full of nutrients, life. You'd be amazed of all the bait out there swimming around their boats. Schools of bait. It's going to be incredible.
All right, another question in the back.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, all right, go ahead. We'll come right back to you.
Can you
Yes,
hear me?
Don.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about more where you were fishing? Was it sort of a backwater of the lake itself? Was it the lake proper? Just a little bit about the area.
More or less a pond off of the lake. I'm sure that the fish don't live there. They mainly use it to come in and spawn until, whenever they get done spawning or when the grass gets too thick. But to me personally, I believe it's more of a spawning area than where they live. So I guess what was the question again? I almost forgot it. Oh yeah, more or less a backwater. I mean, it's right on them. It's part of the lake, but it's more or less a backwater.
I would say that area, it's got. See, there's one lake. There's a barrier with tires on it. That's old. It's been there forever. And then we were past that. There's little doorways through it. And then there's about, what, a half mile